Hi everyone, it's Liz Dadoon here and happy Wednesday. So today's topic is something that was raised yesterday and I get asked this question all the time. The topic is, should a child be forced to study a foreign language when they are already struggling with the English language? Now I probably can count on 20 fingers and 20 toes how many times I've been asked this question, and this is something that I've also been confronted with as a parent. Should my children have to study French when they're obviously dyslexic and being diagnosed as such and struggling with just the structures of the English language? So here's my answer for you, and there's some tips here so that you will get some good ideas about what you can and can't request for your child in your situation. Yesterday's mum was asking me about her, I think it was her daughter, who was being asked to study Spanish. So here you go. The first thing you need to do when your child's being asked to do a second language, a foreign language on top of English, is to assess the abilities of the child, obviously, to do that subject. Some children love foreign languages. They're actually really good at foreign languages. Even though they have a specific language impairment or even dyslexia, they're actually really good, and I'll tell you why. Quite often, children with dyslexia have excellent auditory memories. They have developed the skill to actually be able to hear words. Think of the child who we were talking about the other day who was fantastic at learning their lines in a play. They had a fantastic auditory memory. Hi, Christy, lovely to see you. So this is something that you need to think of. Quite often, children with dyslexia are actually really good at languages. I know it sounds bizarre. Now notice I'm talking about good at languages. It doesn't mean they're great at writing and spelling this other language, although they can be if it's not a phonic-based language. Because you know, some languages, Chinese, think of Chinese for example, are symbol-based languages. Each symbol has a specific meaning or it relates to something in China. In Russia, I'm pretty sure if I'm correct, there are 23 symbols. Everyone has the same phonic sound that it makes. So different languages have different parameters, different areas that can sometimes make them a lot easier to learn. And remember, in today's world, we also already have a lot of children who are bilingual, trilingual, and I even have met some who speak 4 languages. So we're really talking about the child who is perhaps an English speaker who is being asked to learn Spanish or French or Chinese, and it's causing them psychological stress. This is when we need to take some action. Here's some of the things that you can do. As I said, assess the child's ability to cope with learning the language. Speak to the foreign language teacher directly. Go in and talk to them and ask them if there are suitable learning formats they can provide that suit your child's learning style. I know, for example, I found this fantastic French set of tutorials online, video tutorials that taught the French language, and they were fantastic. And I suggested to this French teacher that she looked at incorporating those French video lessons, those tutorials into her classes. She actually said to me that she couldn't because it didn't meet the curriculum guidelines that she had in front of her. But I think there'll be teachers out there who will go for things like that. So definitely look at different formats that are going to work with your child's learning style. This is before you do make any sort of major decisions. You need to do some research on this. Ask your school what options there are in terms of modifying the course content. So in other words, can your child just be assessed on the spoken language as opposed to being assessed on the written and the spelling side of things. So in other words, they can still learn to speak a language and still be a valuable language learner just by being able to speak a language. You know, when you go to a foreign country, the best place to start is just being able to speak that language. Writing, spelling, all those things, that comes secondary. So, you know, you turn up in Indonesia and you just want to be able to speak Indonesian and Balinese. And that's the real skill. So ask if the course can be modified to suit a particular child. You can also ask what other parents have been offered in the past. That's often a good way to find out what is available to your child based on what's happened in the past for other children who've perhaps been diagnosed. Now, the other way you can go is that you could actually get an accommodation not to have to study that language written into your child's IEP. Remember I said to you yesterday, an IEP is an individual education plan. And you can actually have it stated in there, it's a legal document, that your child does not have to attend the foreign language course. Hi Becky, lovely to see you. And yes, I can see this is a topic dear to your heart, so I'm glad I'm being able to answer it. So, some more things to do. Or some more things to consider. Okay, so let's say you have an IEP written for your son or daughter, and in it, it states that your son or daughter does not have to attend Russian, Chinese, Spanish, not Mexican, that is Spanish, another foreign language class. So then you have to consider, well, what is your child going to do whilst everybody else in the class is actually doing that foreign language class? So you have to be able to come up with an arrangement that's not only going to suit your child, but it's actually going to suit the school as well. Because remember, when your child is in the school grounds, the school is responsible for their welfare. They have to supervise your child, keep them safe, as you would expect. They're at school. So it has to be an alternative arrangement that everyone wins and it suits everybody. So let's look at some of the options it could be. It could be a learning support class. Now, I know schools that actually set foreign language up on the timetable at the same time as they set an extra or learning support class up. So the children who aren't going to Spanish, for example, are actually going to learning support, getting some assistance with their essays, their homework, a bit of extra work in literacy and language, how to write essays, all those sorts of things. So coordinate the timetable to suit that happening. You could also have a specific extra class just on language, particularly as children get older and perhaps they're starting to write essays, they're starting to look at novels, and they're starting to write those sort of descriptive and argumentative and persuasive texts. They might need a bit of extra help in that area. So a parallel class could be run at the same time, which is specifically about teaching some English skills. You could have an alternative educational program being offered in your library. So most schools have libraries and library teachers. Quite often our library teachers are, I think, a really big untapped resource. But there are so many things that can be happening in libraries. A child could be doing another educational program in the library, perhaps like my program, the 10-Minute Tutor. There are typing programs. There are look, there's so many programs out there. There are math programs. There's all sorts of programs, and your child could be actually doing another program in the library. They could also be doing project work in the library. They could actually be doing something that completely is an area of their expertise in that library, and that librarian or who was ever in the library at that time could be supervising that activity. Hi Christine, lovely to see you. They could also be doing an alternative class altogether. And what could that alternative class be? Well, I know a child who's very dyslexic, and this is a boy, he actually didn't do a lot of his base classes. So the school actually organised for him to go to a lot of the creative classes at the same time. So he was doing media, filmmaking, all sorts of things that weren't based around, learning a foreign language, but they were in his skill set. Oh, hi there. We've got a dyslexia consulting online. Nice to see you. I hope I can give you some ideas and maybe you can give me some too. So there you go. So lots of things that you can do whilst your child's not doing the foreign language. So think outside the square. When you go to the school and you say, I don't want my child to be doing that foreign language, come up with some options that you can give the school to provide a win-win for everybody. Now, let's say you've got a school who really isn't going to play. The curriculum states they have a foreign language on their coursework, and that your child, if they go to that school, has to do the foreign language. There's no get out of the class happening at all. Then what are your options? Well, let me tell you a little bit about that. So you could get a letter from an educational psychologist or an educational specialist, or somebody who can be seen as an expert in your area of concern for your child, who can write a letter saying it is under our advice that this particular student does not study a foreign language for these reasons. And it has to be some legitimate reasons. So you can get the support of an educational psychologist or something like that, which you can then get that and put it together and maybe even do it at the IEP meeting, potentially even do it when you're going up to speak to the school about another issue. So keep that going. Hi Louise, how you going? All right, let's keep going. You can, this is the next step up. So definitely go and see the principal, and the curriculum coordinator, whoever it is it's potentially in charge of this area. But let's say there's still no go here. You've still got a school saying, no, I'm sorry, it's our policy. Your child has to do French. There's no way out. The next step for you is to go to your regional office of your school. Now, depending on whether you're in America or the UK or New Zealand or Australia or somewhere else in the world, and I know lots of people who are on Dyslexia Daily come from all types of places around the world, and I absolutely love it. There will always be an authoritative body that is the next level up from your school. So here in Australia, we have regional offices for our schools. So nearly every regional office here has either learning difficulties or learning disability liaison officer. You can actually ring up your regional office and you can have a chat to that person, and they are employed by the government to be there to provide you and schools with information and support and guidance. It doesn't hurt to ring them up and ask them. It's not a big deal. Just pick up the phone, speak to the regional office and ask to speak to the disability guidance officer or learning difficulties guidance officer, and they'll tell you what's available. They can also help you by ringing the school and explaining perhaps the rules around what is and isn't allowable for a child that lives where you live. Now, every government has different rules around a child with learning difficulties and what is considered to be the right amount of support that should be provided. So you really do have a good case if you feel as though your child's not coping with that second language to request that they get taken out. This is the next level to go to. So go to your regional office. I know, believe it or not, I know that Texas has a dyslexia officer for every region in Texas. I didn't know that until I found that online. So just have a look online and see who's the next level up from your school. Now, if you're still not getting what you want and you're still not getting the arrangement that you require for your child, and remember, it's time to take action when your child is so psychologically struggling with the learning requirements that's being put upon them, that the impact of the negativity of this having to attend French when English is already hard becomes so great that you know it's time to take action. So my suggestion then is to just change schools. I know it's a huge one, but really sometimes when you've got a school that's not going to be supportive of you, it's really important to take some steps and say, well, this is obviously not the right school for my child who learns a little bit differently. I want them to be feeling positive about what's happening in the future. So there you go. And I've just had a quick message here from Tracy. She says, my 10-year-old is a bilingual dyslexic, although not as much as we'd like her to be. She understands. I'm just going to see if I can see the rest of this message. Nope, it's not going to let me. Oh, I'm sorry, Tracy, I can't see it. It won't let me on this screen. But I will reply to you and thank you so much. There's quite a bit of research around bilingual dyslexics, and the general thoughts are that being bilingual, although quite difficult for some students, is actually a bonus because it actually allows them to manipulate the sounds of the English language and the symbol codes even more competently because they've got all these different elements coming in. So there you go. So I hope you have a great day. I hope I've really helped you to understand what your what options there are for you, and also what legal kind of angles you've got in terms of helping your child who perhaps doesn't want to do Spanish or French, or perhaps it's just too much for them. So mostly if you have a diagnosable learning disability, then you have legal rights in terms of the support that your child should be receiving and what they do and don't have to do at school. It would be a bit silly to suggest that a child sitting in a wheelchair has to do high jump. So you can sort of see where I'm coming at. It's like the child with dyslexia potentially shouldn't be asked to do something that is virtually going to be impossible for them in the long term. But remember, children with learning difficulties and in the area of literacy, and sometimes specifically dyslexia, have compensatory strategies, and quite often that will be auditory processing, very high ability to have a great, fantastic auditory memory. Sometimes they also have an excellent visual memory. And so learning a foreign language for those children isn't often as challenging as it is for some others. So just always keep your mind open. It's about looking at your particular child and understanding what their limitations and strengths are, because quite often they can cope really well with learning a foreign language and sometimes they can't. So it all depends on your child. Have a great day, everybody. And I hope you have a super Wednesday wherever you are in the world. Thank you everybody for all your comments and likes and hellos. I absolutely love going back through them as the day progresses and saying hi back to you all. So have a super day, everyone. And I will see you next time. Bye.